Hey guys, welcome again to Growth Point, where we talk all things life. And like in the season 2, we promise you that season 3 will be exciting, will be informative, but more than anything else, it will be life changing. And today I'm not alone, and I'm always happy when I'm not alone. And I've got somebody with me, as promised last week, that will be speaking about mental health. And Marianna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pastor Munya.
Awesome and awesome. So, mental health is like one of those things that when you want to talk about mental health, it's like a swear word.
It is.
Why
In
is
so many
it so?
ways. Oh, I think so many people are afraid of it. It insinuates madness. I think movies haven't done us any favors. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, etc. And people think madness means danger. Mad people can hurt you. And in fact, it's not the truth. Very few people with mental illness are violent and hurtful. And there's a big distinction between mental illness and other mental conditions such as personality disorders, etc. So unfortunately, it's still a horrendous stigma. I'm a fierce advocate for mental health.
Okay.
I live with bipolar mood disorder and have made it my mission to try and break stigma and just to open up the world of mental health that people can understand it better, be less judgmental, and therefore seek help.
Wow, this is quite interesting from get-go, because I think from what I'm taking from you, mental health is as important as physical health or any other aspect of health.
Absolutely. In fact, your mental health can destroy your physical health.
Wow.
It has such huge implications for your physical health. And it's no use just looking after the exterior. You do need to look after the interior.
Awesome.
And it's a mind-body link. Nothing works in isolation.
Wow, I love that. And I feel like a student right now, and I should. And I ought to be writing notes. I remember a couple of years ago, we had a seminar where you were sharing about mental health, and afterwards a whole lot of people came in like, wow, we never knew it that way. We didn't know this, we didn't know that. And I made it my mission to get as much information as possible. So maybe you can just give me a little bit of background. Who are you? What do you do? People want to know who am I talking to today?
Well, thank you. Okay, I am a Christ follower and I live with bipolar mood disorder. I am a mental wellness coach and an exercise trainer, and I'm a counselor for Grace Point Church. And I am married with 3 daughters. It is my second marriage. My first marriage was badly damaged, in fact destroyed, by my mental health issues, not being managed and not being understood. And I'm very stable. I take medication. I vouch for medication. And I think it's sometimes very difficult because Christian people will say to you, you don't have enough faith.
Yeah.
You're not praying hard enough. You should leave it all at God's feet. And unfortunately, when you are in a space where you are ready to take your life, or where you are making risky, bad decisions, you don't hear or feel God. It's in that particular state and frame of mind where you lose your faith, you lose your Christianity. And medication doesn't make me happy, doesn't make me numb. It simply regulates certain neurotransmitters in my brain which don't function naturally.
Okay. Wow. Wow. My goodness. I should be giving you a hug right now. I'll give you a few more hugs when we are done. But thank you so much for being brutally honest. And I like what you just said now, that even in the Christian circles, we tend to say prayer solves everything. But prayer also gives us wisdom.
Indeed.
It gives us understanding. And it is God who has given us doctors and physicians and practitioners like yourselves. And the medication that is out there, it's the wisdom of God. So I also advocate for that, to say, if a doctor says, I say this every year in our church when we are going into a fast beginning of the year. So you have the ultra religious folk that will say, you know what, I'm going to fast everything. Then I ask them, but your doctor has prescribed certain medication. So I say it from get-go. God wants you to take your medication.
Indeed.
Not taking your medication is not that you don't have faith. You are just, you are exercising common sense.
Absolutely.
So it's to
You're
speak.
being responsible.
Exactly.
And having a mental illness means you have to be responsible because you are still accountable.
Yes.
If there was nothing you could do about it, then you could be perceived as a victim. But there is something you can do about it. And as far as Christian faith goes, without God, I would not be where I am.
Wow.
There is no doubt about that.
Yes.
There's no doubt that at my deepest, lowest point, medicated as I was, all I could do was groan from the depths and beg the Lord.
Wow.
I didn't have words. I couldn't elaborate. I just said, I don't feel you, but I know you are there.
Wow.
And I do feel forsaken right now. So I need you. So it was a very rudimentary prayer. And with the use of medication and responsibility, and in fact my faith has increased over the years since I have become stable.
Wow.
Tremendously so. I have a much better relationship with God.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. My goodness, it's been a journey though.
It has. It has been a very trying journey, very painful. Unfortunately, my particular mood disorder means that you have manic episodes, which are known as episodes where you are very high, if you want to call it that. You indulge in reckless behavior, you don't really care about other people's opinions, you make excuses for everything. Anything you want to do, you do because you make excuses for it. You literally feel like you could fly.
Wow.
You do. You feel like you on the top of the biggest wave, and you are really gregarious and outgoing, grandiose ideas. I mean, I've had some of my most amazing weird ideas. Yes, thinking, no.
Wow.
And to be followed by the most soul-destroying depth of despair.
Wow.
Where you literally don't want to live.
Sure.
And even knowing that you have family and that you know you love them, you feel such a burden. So logically, we can both sit here and we can preach logic.
Yeah.
You can tell me logically you have this wonderful family, they love you, etc., etc. But logic goes. You live in emotional turmoil. And that's why it's a mood disorder. You live in an emotional realm. Your logic goes out the window. Your sense goes out the window. You live through an emotion. So you know what it's like if you're angry and you respond to your anger. Sometimes you want to hit someone or whatever.
Yes.
It's an unhealthy response. What happens when you're in a mood disorder? You are completely emotionally dysregulated. You can't see the logic. You can't pause and consider the consequences of your actions.
Wow.
Because you've got excuses for it. So that is where huge damage is done to relationships.
Wow.
And I think in those depths of despair, that is where you consider taking your life.
Okay.
Because you feel like the biggest burden on everyone.
Wow.
You see people looking at you, worrying about you, trying to help you, wanting to do things, and you just can't get better. And you feel weak and a failure, and most of all, a most tremendous burden.
Wow.
So the taking of a life is not done lightly. It is done out of a deep, dark place of desperation, where your logic has completely flown the coop.
Wow. And you've been there many times.
I have been there sometimes. The worst time was after I had a full manic episode. So in bipolar, you have bipolar 1 and bipolar 2.
Okay.
Bipolar 1 is where you have full-blown manic episodes, which usually ends up with hospitalization.
Okay.
And possibly psychosis, believing you're someone you're not.
Okay.
And basically your behaviors have very serious consequences,
Okay.
i.e. damaging your marriage, ruining your job, losing, really, really, really getting yourself into trouble.
Okay.
Once again, people who are bipolar manic are very, very rarely aggressive. It would usually be an underlying something else.
Okay.
It is more destructive to yourself.
Okay.
A lot of people become very promiscuous, huge risk-taking behaviors, drugs, alcohol. You're riding the wave. You do think you're superior to every living creature on the earth.
Wow.
And but in a wonderful way. You really do think you're quite wonderful. And then, like I said, the problem is the dark side.
Yes.
When it comes. So in bipolar 2, you have hypomania, meaning a low mania, and you still suffer from the depressive episode.
Okay.
So even the hypomania is problematic because you become more erratic, you become a little bit out of control, your thoughts become out of control, racing speech, sense of urgency, you don't complete tasks, so it does interfere with your life.
Wow.
Even the hypomanic. So I would say I had many hypomanic episodes, and then I had my full-blown manic episode.
Okay.
And at that particular time, my behaviors led to huge damaging and breaking of my marriage. I hurt many, many, many people, and ended up in a psychiatric hospital for 21 days. And it's when the person who has been manic starts to realize what they did when they were manic, that you want to die. Because it's not who you are. That's not who I am. I have a strong sense of conscience. I have a strong sense of responsibility. And yet, during that manic time, it's all about me. And that is so not my nature. So when I came down and realized what I had done and had to face the consequences and the agony in people's eyes, it was the lowest I had ever gone. And just lying in that hospital was where to from here. And I literally had to start over from there. My parents took me and my girls in. Understandably, due to my actions, my husband could not tolerate me anymore, and but I had to build up a life from nothing again, basically. And one has to be careful not to take too much responsibility, in a sense that if I was in my right mind, I wouldn't have done that. But I would never say it's an excuse for doing what I did. The ramifications and the consequences are still there, whether you intended to or not. So, and then from that day I vowed I would never go off my medication, and I would commit to my mental health, go for therapy, because I didn't want to hurt my family ever again.
Wow. So I want to ask something, and well done for picking yourself up.
Thank you.
And you're an inspiration, by the way.
Thank you.
And I'm amazed by just your fighting spirit.
Thank you.
So I've heard words being thrown around like split personality disorder. Is it also associated with that as well?
Not at all.
Not at all. It's a different thing
remember,
altogether.
those are personality disorders. So personality disorders are very, very different to mood disorders. Literally, mood disorders refer to your mood. So you get your bipolar mood disorder, your unipolar, which is your depression. You get bipolar 1, bipolar 2. And those are your mood disorder. Schizophrenia and your multiple personality disorder, I think it's even been called something else now in the DSM, or what we used to call split personality. Those are not related at all. However, some people with those personality disorders might have the mood disorder with it. But having a mood disorder doesn't mean that you have a personality disorder.
All right. I would like you to debunk a myth for me. If I have diarrhea, it's an acceptable ailment. If I break my leg, it's acceptable. If even if somebody have a terminal illness, it's acceptable. How come when it comes to anything related to mental, it's almost like a huge Why is that?
Such a perception of weakness.
Hmm.
Like, you haven't got a strong enough mind. If you haven't got a strong enough mind, you are so weak.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with my cognitive function or my thought processes. It's when my mood dysregulates that I'm not as in control of my thought processes. So yes, in fact, I broke my leg last year. It was the easiest thing to bear in terms of public scrutiny, because you could see the big boot and whatever it is, and oh shame, what happened?
Yes.
Whatever. Whereas with mental illness, the moment you admit to not being okay, there's either a desire to fix you, or there's a desire to avoid you.
Yes.
Because there must be something wrong with you. And then creeps in the she's mad, she's crazy. And I do believe very strongly that people think that people with mental illness have a low IQ. Or that we are not highly intelligent. And I have to dispute that. I do have a degree, and I've studied many different courses, and partially another degree. So there's nothing wrong with my brain in terms of its intelligence. And it's very sad that is how it is perceived.
Yeah, it's sad indeed.
And the saddest thing, the most difficult thing for me is in particular men who suffer from mental illness. Wow. Because it's even worse in the male dominated sphere, where men are definitely perceive themselves as very weak to have a mental illness. Wow. And men don't naturally speak about their feelings. Yes. And that is one of the big things you have to speak about is your feelings. Yes. So psychology and therapy is a very, very important aspect of managing your mental health as well. Oh, wow. Well, so where does one start? Because is there a way of getting diagnosed? Because from what you've just been saying, I think everybody's in my life, everybody I know falls in some of those categories. No offense, not me all. Included. Not at all. But at what stage do you wait until it's aggressive? How do you know? So it's quite difficult. In particular, people with bipolar 1 usually only get diagnosed when they end up in hospital. Because we don't think there's anything wrong with us when we ride in the wave. We just think that's wonderful. And especially if the wave's not too big. When it crashes, you think you suffer from depression. In fact, a lot of people with bipolar 2 are diagnosed with depression. And the bipolar, the manic element is ignored. So in terms of when to go for help, knowledge is power. Yes. That's what we're trying to do here. One also has to be careful not to overdiagnose yourself. Okay. So when I'm describing mania, it's quite a toxic situation. Okay. It's people who would, very conservative women who would never even dream of looking at another man, suddenly become promiscuous and have multiple affairs, spend all the money in the bank account, whereas normally they're very careful, go gambling sprees, drinking sprees, alcohol sprees, and then have the massive crash. Okay. When you feel that mentally you are not coping, like really, really not coping, you need to talk to someone. So you start off with a counselor or a therapist. Okay. I'm not coping. Things are not okay. Call it executive burnout if you want to as a male. That's a perfectly reasonable thing. Burnout is very much the cause of depression. Often. So like you were saying, I often resonate with that. Of course you would. Because of the demands in your life. You're probably partially burnt out on a regular basis. So when you feel that overwhelmed, I can't cope feeling, it often is burnout. But it's time to talk. So speak rather than wait. Okay. Your therapist, your counselor, your psychologist should be able to say, okay, you're not okay. Yes. All right? The kind of things you're saying are worrying me. I do believe you need to see a clinician or a doctor. And so a psychologist can diagnose you, not a counselor. Okay. And a GP can diagnose you, and a psychiatrist. Okay. So normally you would see your counselor or therapist. For example, if someone was seeing me, because I'm a counselor and a coach, if I was concerned, I would refer them to their GP.
Okay.
And say, this is what I'm seeing in you, this is what I'm worried about. Just go and see your GP and see if that's the case.
Okay.
Psychologists will often make the diagnoses, and then they might send directly to a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Psychologists and therapists cannot prescribe you medication,
Okay.
whereas your GPs and your psychiatrists can.
Okay.
Not everybody with depression needs medication.
Okay.
Not everybody. But ignoring it and not even going for therapy is going to just get it worse.
Okay.
And I think if I say that feeling of a washing machine in your brain, that overwhelmed,
Yes.
colors, whites, blacks, mixing, you can't actually find a thought to hang on to,
Yes.
that complete state of frenzy that you find yourself in, is very much a burnout type of, I could be going there symptom.
Yes.
And so that's where we look at mental health,
Okay.
not just mental illness. One needs to look at your mental health
Yes.
so that you don't burn out
Yes.
and end up going down that
Wow.
road.
Wow. Wow. This is beautiful. And it's been way coming and overdue. But I'm excited about this. There's one aspect I want to ask as we just laying down the foundations in terms of where we are going. I love the fact that you then brought in mental health as well. Like, because the moment I believe you need to see someone, sometimes it's too late.
It could be, absolutely. And that's why if we can open everyone's eyes to the signs and symptoms, and also just, if we break the stigma, there's more compassion.
Yeah.
If there's more compassion, you'll see your friend is struggling. She hasn't been out of bed for 3 days. She's cancelling all her social engagements. She's refusing to come out with her friends. She hasn't been to church. She's whatever it is that she normally does, she's no longer doing. Those are signs for concern.
Yes.
And that depression is that. You lose interest in everything.
Wow. Wow.
And eventually you almost become paralyzed by depression. And even washing your hair is, I know when I'm depressed, when I struggle to wash my hair. And it's that wanting to isolate and pull away and hide. So if we're more aware, we'll notice that and we'll be able to help each other.
Okay. Wow. So that's one thing that I wanted to ask was, how important is the support of family?
Wow. Yes, it's paramount. In fact, I think there's, if I remember correctly, sort of 5 tenets of supporting people with mental illness, or 5 things that mean that the recovery or the balancing and managing of it will be optimal. So it is family support and love, medical care, okay, in terms of drugs, etc., and therapy, financial situation,
yes,
and I cannot remember the 5th. But basically, what I'm saying is it's a very compound, holistic thing.
Okay.
And family does need to be involved. And in a sense, family also needs counseling because you need to learn how to cope with someone with mental illness.
Yeah.
Because it's hard on the families. We're not just feeling sorry for the sick person. We really need to have empathy with the family. Not that you should feel sorry for the person, but empathy is a better
empathy,
word.
yes.
But that's the thing.
Yes.
Is there's a lot of people involved. There's a whole family that's involved when somebody has mental illness.
Oh, wow. Wow, I love that. Then it becomes, they become part of your recovery, part of the healing process, and they too get healed as well. Because when you're in that space, you're like a razor. Each side, you're hurting yourself, but you're hurting those that love you.
Exactly, yes.
Wow.
That's an excellent analogy.
Wow. So, Marianna, this has been informative more than anything else. I'm really, I would say this word, I'm ministered by just your life's journey. And in the next installment, we would like to just know more, like where you at now, and some of our listeners and those that are watching, if you have certain questions regarding your own lives, please do send them through, and Marianna will be able to answer them on the program so that you're also helped. And we will get some information from you, and we will be able to put it right underneath the screen, where if you find yourself in a difficult position or you resonate with what Marianna has been saying, I'm sure there are places they can call. There are places they can
There
go.
are. So straight off, let me say SADAG, South African Depression and Anxiety Support Group, is fantastic. They've got 24-hour helplines. They've got counsellors there all the time. There's suicide hotlines. They are amazing. And in terms of needing free counselling, many churches do have it. They have counselling ministry. And yes, then obviously you've got your psychologists and your life coaches, etc. And yes, if you really are worried about someone harming themselves or harming others, then you can phone the police and have them forcibly admitted somewhere.
Okay.
The biggest risk would always be self-harm.
Yes.
And I'm fine, I don't need anything, you're not doing this, but you can see that this person's doing things to hurt themselves,
Yes.
and you don't know what to do. But SADAG will help you with all of that, so they are fantastic.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marianna. And as we finish this segment, this season I have a tip towards the end that I want to start asking my guests, and it's the same question. What is life to Marianna? What is your definition of life?
My definition of life is finding my happy. And what I've learned about happy is that it is a deep sense of peace and okayness. Joy is different. Joy is wonderful.
Yeah.
But happy is peace. And for me, when I'm happy, I am close to God. I resonate with God and with Jesus and the influence. And I just feel at peace with people, with the people in my life and with the things that I do. So for me, that is my definition of life, is working to a place where you can find your happy. And one of the big things, in order to find your happy, you have to have self-worth.
Wow.
So maybe we can touch on that next time.
Yes, definitely.
Because without self-worth, you're not going to be able to fight any mental illness. You're not going to be able to reach any level of success in life. And you definitely won't be able to find your happy.
Wow.
So,
Awesome. That is life according to Marianna Stais. And guys, this has been Growth Point, and I believe that we served the soup quite warm and delicious. Whether you eat it or not, this time I'm not saying it's none of our business. It is our business that you are well, you are healthy, and you are happy. Marianna, thank you so much for coming through. I know we barely touched the subject. Next time we'll go deeper and be able to bring awareness out there and then get the information people need.
and thank you for your passion. We just need so many more of you. We desperately
Thank you.
People who want to engage on the topic and make a difference.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Bless you.
Bless you too.